Tropical Cyclone Luana has made landfall on the Queensland coast. Another tropical low is developing. And right across the eastern states, we're re-looking at a very active weather pattern over the coming week. I've examined the latest from the Bureau of Meteorology, looked at the models, and there's a fair bit to cover. Let's start with what is happening right now, then work through what is coming. Cyclone Luana crossed the coast near Cooktown in far north Queensland overnight. Category 1 system at landfall, wind gusts up to 90 kilometres per hour. That is enough to bring down trees, damage roofs and cause power outages. But we're not looking at the catastrophic damage you see from a Category 3 or 4 system. The eye came ashore around 2 a.m. local time. By sunrise, the system had weakened considerably as it moved inland. That's typical behaviour for tropical cyclones. They need warm ocean water to maintain their strength. Once they hit land, they lose their energy source and start to fall apart. Current observations from Cooktown show winds have dropped back to around 40 to 50 kilometres per hour. Still breezy, but the worst has passed for that immediate coastal area. The main concern now shifts to rainfall. Luana is tracking south-southwest, moving slowly inland. That slow movement is important. A system that stalls or moves slowly drops significantly more rain than one that races through. We're expecting rainfall totals of 150 to 250 millimetres across parts of the north tropical coast and tablelands over the next 48 hours. 250 millimetres is a serious amount of rain. That's enough to cause flash flooding, particularly in areas that have already seen heavy rain this week. Rivers will rise, low-lying areas will flood, roads will be cut. Now, let's put this in perspective. Many of you remember Cyclone Larry, March 2006, Category 5 system that crossed near Innisfail. Wind gusts over 290 kilometres per hour, 17,000 homes damaged or destroyed. That was a devastating event. Luana is nowhere near that level of intensity, but that doesn't mean you treat it lightly. A Category 1 cyclone still brings dangerous conditions. The rainfall alone can cause significant problems. And for those in the direct path, a 90 kilometre per hour wind gust can absolutely cause damage to property. What made Luana interesting from a meteorological perspective is how rapidly it developed. 48 hours ago, this was just a tropical low-pressure system sitting in the Coral Sea. Within 24 hours, it had organised into a tropical cyclone and intensified to Category 1 strength. That rapid development caught some people off guard. The Bureau of Meteorology issued cyclone watches and warnings as soon as the system showed signs of organisation, but the time frame between a tropical low and a landfalling cyclone was quite compressed. This is where understanding the models becomes important. The Access model, the Bureau S primary forecast model, picked up on the potential for development about 3 days out. It showed favourable conditions, warm sea surface temperatures, low wind shear, good upper level outflow, all the ingredients needed for cyclone formation. The GFS model and the European model both agreed. When you see that kind of model consensus, you pay attention. It doesn't guarantee a cyclone will form, but it tells you the atmospheric setup is conducive to development. Sea surface temperatures in the Coral Sea right now are sitting around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. That is well above the threshold needed for tropical cyclone formation. You generally need at least 26.5 degrees. So the ocean heat content was there. Wind shear was low. That is critical. High wind shear tears apart developing systems. Low shear allows them to organise and strengthen. Over the past few days, wind shear across the region has been minimal. Upper level divergence was strong. That is the mechanism that allows air to be efficiently removed from the top of the system, which in turn allows more air to flow in at the surface, feeding the convection and strengthening the circulation. All those factors came together. The low organised, convection wrapped around the centre, pressure dropped, winds increased. Within a remarkably short time frame, we had a tropical cyclone. Now it's weakening as it moves inland. By tomorrow, it'll be downgraded to a tropical low, but the rain will continue. And that's where the ongoing risk lies. The Bureau has flood watches current for catchments across far north Queensland. That includes the Daintree, Mossman, Barron, Russell-Mulgrave, Johnstone, Tully, Murray, Herbert and Black River systems. Some of those rivers are already elevated from previous rainfall. If you rain any of those catchments, monitor the latest warnings from the Bureau. Flood warnings can escalate quickly when you're re-dealing with this kind of rainfall intensity. Right, let's talk about what is coming next. Because Luana isn't to the end of the story, there is another tropical low developing in the Coral Sea, and this one bears watching. Current position is roughly 500 kilometres east-northeast of Cairns. It is still a low-pressure system at this stage, not a tropical cyclone. But the models are showing potential for development over the next 3 to 5 days. The Access model brings this system close to the coast around early February. There is significant uncertainty in the track at this range. Some model runs show it moving south towards central Queensland. Others show it tracking more parallel to the coast and potentially affecting southeast Queensland. That is a big spread in possible outcomes. And it's too early to say with any confidence where this system will go or how strong it will become. But the atmospheric setup is concerning. We're in a pattern that favours tropical cyclone activity. The monsoon trough is active. Sea surface temperatures remain well above average. Wind shear is forecast to remain low. If this system does develop and track towards the coast, we could be looking at impacts anywhere from Townsville down to the Sunshine Coast. That is a huge area. And the timing, if the models are correct, would be early next week. For those in southeast Queensland, another cyclone impact would be significant. You don't often see systems that far south. When they do occur, they tend to bring very heavy rainfall because they're re-interacting with different atmospheric dynamics than you see in the tropics. The 1,974 Brisbane floods were partly driven by a tropical low that moved down from the north and stalled over the region. That system dropped extraordinary rainfall totals. Brisbane River peaked at 6.6 metres, devastating flooding throughout the city and surrounding areas. I am not suggesting we're looking at a repeat of that event, but it illustrates the potential for tropical systems to cause major impacts in southeast Queensland when the conditions align. The key factors to watch over the next few days are system development and track. If the low strengthens into a tropical cyclone, the Bureau will issue appropriate watches and warnings. If it tracks closer to the coast, impacts become more likely. If it stays offshore or weakens, impacts will be minimal. Model agreement is still poor at this stage. The GFS has been showing a coastal track for several runs now. The European model has been more conservative, keeping the system further offshore. Access has been somewhere in between, showing development but with high uncertainty on the exact track. That divergence tells us we are still in the range where multiple scenarios are possible. Check the Bureau S updates daily. They'll refine the forecast as the system evolves and the models converge on a more consistent solution. Now, while all this tropical activity is happening in the north, the rest of the country isn't being left out of the action. A cold front is moving across the southern states. This front will bring a sharp temperature drop, showers and gusty winds to South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania over the weekend. Adelaide will see temperatures drop from the mid-30s today down to around 22 degrees by Sunday. That's a significant change. Showers and thunderstorms ahead of the front, then clearing skies and cooler southwesterly winds behind it. Melbourne, you are looking at a similar pattern. Top of 30 degrees today, humid and unstable. Thunderstorms likely this afternoon and evening. Some could be severe with heavy rainfall, damaging winds and large hail. The front moves through tonight. Tomorrow, expect a top of around 19 degrees under clearing skies. Tasmania will cop the coldest air. Hobart dropping to a maximum of just 14 degrees on Sunday. Showers continuing through the weekend, easing early next week. Snow levels dropping to around 1,000 metres. If you are heading to the Highlands, expect snow above that level. For those in Alpine areas of Victoria and New South Wales, snow is likely above 1,500 metres. Not huge falls, but enough to dust the peaks. If you are planning a trip to the Snowy Mountains or Falls Creek area, take this into account. The front will push into New South Wales on Sunday. Sydney will see temperatures drop from 32 degrees on Saturday to around 24 on Monday. Showers and possible thunderstorms Sunday afternoon and evening. Some of those storms could be severe, particularly for the Illawarra and southern tablelands. Western New South Wales will see some decent rainfall from this system. Areas that have been dry for weeks will finally get a drink. Not drought-breaking rain, but welcome nonetheless. Expecting 15 to 30 millimetres across the central west and Riverina. Queensland remains split. The tropical activity in the far north. Hot and dry through the interior. Brisbane and the southeast coast staying warm and humid with afternoon thunderstorms possible but not guaranteed. Right across central Queensland from Rockhampton through to Mackay, conditions remain hot and humid. Maximums in the low to mid-30s. High overnight minimums making it uncomfortable for sleeping. Not much relief on the horizon for that region over the next week. Western Australia is in a different pattern altogether. Perth has been dry for months now. That continues. High pressure is dominating, blocking any rain-bearing systems from reaching the southwest. Maximums in the high 20s to low 30s. Warm, dry and settled. The Pilbara and Kimberley regions in the northwest are seeing typical wet season conditions. Scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not organised tropical activity, just afternoon convection driven by heating and moisture. Some areas picking up decent totals, others staying relatively dry. That is the nature of scattered thunderstorm activity. South Australia, outside of Adelaide, stays mostly dry. The front brings showers to the southeast, but the rest of the state misses out. The agricultural regions could really use rain, but this system isn't going to deliver much. Maybe 5 to 15 millimetres at best. Northern Territory is quiet. Darwin's sitting at the typical mid-30s with afternoon storms. The build-up season continues, humidity is high, making it feel oppressive, but no organised systems threatening the top end at this stage, so that's the national picture. Tropical activity in far north Queensland with Cyclone Luana weakening inland and another system potentially developing. A cold front bringing cooler temperatures and showers to the southern states. Hot and dry continuing across much of the interior. Let's talk about what you should be doing depending on where you are. If you in far north Queensland, particularly in the areas affected by Luana-S rainfall, monitor river levels closely. The Bureau-S flood warnings will give you specific information on expected peaks and timings. If you live in a flood-prone area and you told to evacuate, don to wait. Get out early, never drive through floodwater. If it's flooded, forget it. That is not just a slogan, it is life-saving advice. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. You cannot judge the depth or the current. Roads can be washed away underneath the water. One wrong decision and you are in serious trouble. For those watching the developing tropical low, keep an eye on the Bureau-S updates. If it looks like tracking towards your area, start preparing now. Stock up on essentials, food, water, batteries, fuel. Make sure you have a battery-powered radio, charge your devices, secure loose items around your property. If you're in a low-lying area prone to storm surge, know your evacuation route. Tropical cyclones can push seawater inland, causing coastal flooding even before the system makes landfall. Storm surge is one of the most dangerous aspects of a cyclone. For those in Victoria, Tasmania and southern New South Wales dealing with the cold front, severe thunderstorms are possible. If you see a storm warning issued for your area, take it seriously. Move vehicles undercover if possible. Bring in outdoor furniture. Stay indoors during the storm. If you in agricultural areas getting rain from this front, it's a good opportunity to check water storages and assess pasture conditions. It's not a huge rain event, but every bit helps after a dry period. Melbourne, with the severe storm risk today, keep an eye on the sky this afternoon. If you see a shelf cloud approaching or hear thunder, get inside. Large hail is possible. That means damage to vehicles, roofs and skylights. If you've got cars parked outside, consider moving them to covered areas. For those in the Alpine regions, if you are heading up for a weekend trip, be prepared for snow. Carry chains even if you don't think you'll need them. Conditions can change rapidly in the mountains. What starts as rain in the valleys can be heavy snow at higher elevations. Sydney and the Central Coast, thunderstorms Sunday could be intense. Heavy rainfall in a short period can cause flash flooding in urban areas. If you in a known flood hotspot, keep an eye on conditions. Don T Park in underground car parks if heavy rain is forecast. Brisbane and Southeast Queensland, while you not in the direct path of anything at the moment, keep monitoring that developing tropical low. If the models are correct and it does track south, you could be looking at significant impacts early next week. Now, the time to review your cyclone plan, not when the system's 24 hours away. Perth and the southwest, your dry pattern continues. If you've got gardens or livestock, you are managing water carefully. There's no relief in the immediate forecast. Keep an eye on longer range outlooks. Sometimes these blocking patterns break down suddenly. For the far north of Western Australia, the Kimberley and Pilbara, thunderstorm activity will continue. Some areas will get drenched, others will stay dry. That's just the nature of isolated storm activity. If you are travelling in remote areas, be aware that roads can be cut quickly after heavy rain. Darwin and the top end, it's business as usual for the build-up. Uncomfortable conditions, but that is what you expect this time of year. The real wet season is still a few weeks away. When the monsoon properly establishes, you will see more consistent, widespread rainfall, right? A couple of broader points about the pattern we are in. In fact, we're already seeing classic La Nina-like conditions, even though we are technically in neutral territory with the El Nino Southern Oscillation. That means warmer ocean temperatures around northern Australia, increased tropical cyclone activity, and a more active monsoon. The Indian Ocean dipole is currently neutral as well, but sea surface temperature patterns in the eastern Indian Ocean are slightly warmer than average. That can contribute to increased moisture availability for systems affecting Western Australia and the top end. The southern annular mode has been fluctuating between positive and negative phases. When it is positive, it tends to push weather systems further south, giving southern Australia more rainfall. When it is negative, systems track further north. Over the next fortnight, models are showing a shift towards a more positive phase. That could bring more frontal systems and rainfall to the southern states. These large-scale climate drivers don't give you a day-to-day forecast, but they help explain the overall pattern. Why we re-seeing active tropical conditions, why southern areas are getting frontal systems, why some regions stay persistently dry. Understanding the big picture helps you make sense of what's happening and what's likely to continue. One more thing worth mentioning, fire danger. With the hot, dry conditions across parts of Queensland, New South Wales and Western Australia, fire danger ratings remain elevated. Total fire bans are in place for several regions. If you are in an area with a total fire ban, that means no fires of any kind. No barbecues, no burn-offs, no welding. The penalties are severe and for good reason. If you are in a bushfire-prone area, know your plan. The safest option is always to leave early. Don't wait to see how the fire develops. If you're told to evacuate, go. Your life is worth more than your property. For those in areas with catastrophic fire danger ratings, you should not be there. Leaving early is not just recommended, it's essential. Catastrophic means fires will be uncontrollable, spread rapidly, and be impossible to suppress. Houses will not be defendable. Check the fire danger rating for your area daily during summer. It changes based on temperature, humidity, wind speed, and fuel moisture. What is moderate one day can be extreme the next. All right, let's wrap this up. Cyclone Luana has made landfall and is weakening. The immediate coastal threat has passed. The ongoing concern is flooding from heavy rainfall across far north Queensland. Another tropical low is developing in the Coral Sea. There is potential for this system to impact the Queensland coast anywhere from central Queensland to the southeast over the next week. Track and intensity remain uncertain. Monitor the Bureau S updates daily. A cold front is moving across the southern states, bringing a sharp temperature drop, showers and possible severe thunderstorms. Melbourne and Tasmania will see the coldest conditions, with snow likely in alpine areas. Hot and dry conditions continue across much of the interior. Fire danger remains elevated. Total fire bans are in place for multiple regions. If you are in an area expecting severe weather, prepare now. Don't wait until the system is on your doorstep. Have your emergency kit ready. Know your evacuation routes. Stay informed through official sources. The Bureau of Meteorology updates their forecasts and warnings regularly. Check their website, download their app, or tune into your local ABC radio for the latest information. Don't rely on social media or unofficial sources. That's where we stand. An active weather pattern right across the eastern states. Tropical activity in the north, frontal systems in the south, hot and dry through the interior. Stay safe, look after your mates and neighbours, particularly the elderly or those in vulnerable situations, and don't take unnecessary risks. I'll continue monitoring these systems and provide updates as the situation